Hi everyone, welcome along. Are you up for another gorgeous seasonal tutorial that also teaches you a watercolour technique? Yes, I agree. Isn't it a great idea? We're going to have some fun and actually improve our skills at the same time. So I have a really fun little pumpkin full of flowers, rather stylised little piece of art here. But this all comes from having great control with the brush. And how do you hold your brush? I bet you that you might not have given it that much thought over time, and I'm here to just help you tweak how you hold it to make sure you're getting the ultimate control. And then once you've got the brush handled properly, then you'll be able to see just how much control you get to see if you can paint all these lovely little flowers close up but far apart at the same time. You'll see what I mean in a minute. Grab your paints and let's get started. If I can, I like to try and combine a useful watercolour drill with a fun tutorial. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a pumpkin shape. And the great news is even if you draw a shape and you're like, that looks more like an apple, you can just sort of tweak it, I suppose. That feels quite good. And then I can just rub out what I don't need. Now what we're going to do first is we're going to create a colour palette, and I want to do a nice sort of autumnal purple, which feels to me like quite a sort of reddish purple. A plum colour, I suppose, so I'm just combining imperial purple with alizarin crimson, and then to go with that I want to have a sort of much lighter kind of peachy colour, so I'll probably sort of dilute that right down. I think those two together are a really nice combo, because when you're choosing colours, it's not just about the colours in your palette, but it's also about the value. So you're going for like a pale version next to something a bit stronger. And then I want a green, but I want to make it a little bit sort of, I don't know, a little bit muted. So I'm going to just take some deep sap green, some aqua green. That's quite nice. Yeah, I quite like that colour. And then we'll go for something warm and gold, maybe a sort of yellow ochre, buff titanium combination. That looks nice. A lot of choosing colour palettes is just sort of whether you like it or not. And then lastly, I feel like we have to have some moon glow in there. Something dark. Lovely. I really like that colour palette, so we're going to stick with that. Now, what this is all about is how do you hold your brush? And when I say that, what I mean is you can see where I hold it. The tips of my fingers are sort of halfway down the ferrule, the metal bit, and my thumb and forefinger are just where the ferrule meets the wood. And I know that some people hold their brush more like here. And whilst that might work for you, what I found when I was teaching in person at my retreat recently is to change from there to there was the most effective change that a few of my attendees made, and the amount of control they suddenly had from holding it down there rather than being up there. Because it's fine. I just naturally want to come down here. You've just got so much more control because you're right there up in the action. So what I thought would be really nice is we could combine painting a really nice little sort of set of autumnal flowers, whilst also just seeing I thought doing something nice and sort of close up and close together would really challenge us to see if you've got the control over your brush. So I'm going to use these colours to paint a lovely set of watery plants and flowers, and we can sort of see how much control you've got. And there could be the odd little blend here and there, but I'm actually going to try more for the control. The whole point of the exercise is can you actually maintain enough control to not have them overlap with one another. And the more you get into it, then you can start to really enjoy kind of placing in these little petals right up to the end. Oh, excuse me. I don't think I've ever sneezed without getting to my hanky in time or switching off the camera. Oh well. So, as you can see, I'm going right up to the edge of the pumpkin and making an effort to really think about how it is I'm holding my brush, and then getting that control, trying to go right up close to things in the vicinity. And what's nice is it's going to result in a really gorgeous little piece. I thought I'd just do a few little dots here and then place in a petal around the edge. This will be a real challenge. So I've sort of said that it's good to keep the whole point of this is to have enough control so you can keep your colours separate from each other. But the other thing is it would be nice to be able to blend things to do two different types of colour in a piece. So let's take some of this cream colour. Maybe I can take this and just send it up the little petals there. So we want to make something gorgeous as well as useful. But if we can be learning a specific skill at the same time as creating something lovely, then that's the absolute jackpot. Once you've started getting used to painting things close to one another so that they're not touching, you can then sort of play around with the actual shapes themselves and put little bits of unpainted space into them as well. I think if you can have a drill that gives you something pretty at the end, I think we're all more inclined to do it, aren't we? Because then you know you've got like maybe a nice card that you've made without even needing to think about it too much. So I'm just sort of working my way around, looking for colours that I haven't painted in certain areas. Creating little funny flowers, and of course dropping in another colour in places, and it's looking really pretty. What I'm really enjoying about this is when you come across like an awkward, weird nook and cranny, and you've got to paint a flower that kind of fills that entire gap. I think what this is also really useful for is water control as well. How much liquid have you got on your brush? I think there's lots of useful things to be found in this little exercise. And I really like the colour palette as well. So if this last little bit feels like maybe a moon glow, a little moon glow flower. See if I can just fill up the space. And then the last thing we need to do is paint in the stalk. And then we will let everything dry and rub out the pencil. There we go. Hey, hey. Okay, I think I'll start with a little bit of the sort of ochre colour. Then I'll do the stripe of that. That's sort of fanning out at the bottom here. And then we'll finish it off with some moon glow. Whew, right, let's let it dry, rub out the pencil, and then we'll be done. And there is the pumpkin with the pencil all rubbed out. So it's just really nicely floating on the page there. You have been able to practice brush control, water control, and also you've got a gorgeous little seasonal piece there. So I hope we've covered all bases here and you've learned something and enjoyed yourself and got something nice to show for it. And let me know in the comments below how you got on with it. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Every subscribe, every comment, every like, every bit of engagement just really helps us get the word out there about the wonder of watercolour. And of course, you will never miss another video if you do subscribe, which will be fantastic. So we will see you again next time. Bye!